This is just a quick reminder that I am releasing an academic planner this year. I've basically designed my dream planner with everything you could need as a student and have used mine every single day this year, and I'm just terribly excited to share it with you. Hello, it's Ruby, and I've come to the unfortunate realisation that I've been spending too much time on screens and social media recently. And so I did of course want to do something about it. It's really easy to not realise that you're spending so much time on social media. It's only when the notification comes through saying you spent like 20% more time on screens this week that you realise just how much of your time you wasted scrolling through Instagram or watching YouTube videos. I don't want to be spending my time doing that. I know that there are things I feel much more fulfilled for doing, I enjoy doing much more, things that will make me happier in the long run, things that are better for my mental well-being, and those are the things I want to be prioritising, and I can't do them if I am spending all of my time just scrolling mindlessly through my phone. I would say by and all, I am quite good at not spending loads of time on social media, but it definitely fluctuates and I have to keep myself in check. It's not just a linear thing. People ask me a lot how to stop spending time on social media, and I'm going to be honest that I am not always the best person to ask, but I think one thing that I do definitely try to do is hold myself perpetually accountable and consistently be reflecting on how much time I am spending on social media and how I can reduce that. And so today we are going to be setting some goals and putting them into practice, so I can show you firsthand how I am tackling this emerging problem of me spending too much time on screens and how you can perhaps do the same. So yeah, I'm really excited to bring you along with this. The very first thing we are going to do is some journaling, and I'm going to set you up so you can see my screen and we can journal together. I just realised how awfully ironic it is that I'm actually going to be doing this on Notion, since that is using a screen. Maybe that's going to have to end up being one of my goals, the fact that I don't automatically use Notion as a default for everything. Let's start by making a Notion page. Intentional use of social media. I'm going to say technology actually. I'm going to start by setting some goals. I think that's important, you know, thinking what are the overarching things that I want to achieve? What do I want to stop doing more broadly? Okay, so my main goals are: 1, aiming to cut down my screen time by 1/3, which is a nice tangible goal that I can actually track. 2, aiming to feel more alert and attentive to the world and little moments, because I think being on social media and being constantly in that realm, constantly thinking about like taking photos for Instagram or checking social media, it prevents you from focusing on present moments and being present, so necessary for your mental health. And goal 3, finding more time for the things I enjoy and being more focused and creative, which again is kind of an extension of goal 2. But these are the reasons why I'm making this shift. Okay, the next thing is reflecting on the main problems, and let me tell you, there are quite a few. So I just want to write down and think about potentially toxic patterns that I've fallen into, because there is definitely best practice when it comes to social media. There are things and practices that I've had in the past. By writing out the main problems, I really think that I can start to combat them and come up with tangible solutions for each of these. So I'm going to do that now, and I will check back in a second. New location just to spice it up a little bit. I have the main problems written out here, and I'm going to run through these for you. I've identified 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 key problems, and maybe this will be useful for you as well to know what I'm struggling with in terms of social media use, because maybe you'll realise that you're doing the same thing and you hadn't like realised that that was negatively impacting your mental health, which is why I'm going to run through these problems for you actually now. So first thing is, I do pretty much everything on my laptop. Like right now I've just made this plan about how to reduce screen time on my laptop. I love Notion, I use it for everything. That does mean that I'm not using paper as much, and so I'm looking at a screen for a lot more time. I've put I'm effectively a cyborg. There are some theorists who argue that humans are cyborgs because they have constant access to, like, the phone is basically a part of them. It's an extension of the self, and you're able to use that technology. And then the other thing which just like leads on from that is I work a lot. Even though I'm not at university at the moment, I constantly like to be doing things and I like to keep busy. And actually I don't think that's necessarily a very positive thing. The type of work that I will always do is always going to be on my laptop. I kind of associate like productive work with laptop work. That's something I want to change. I want to kind of have some days where I won't be on screens at all or kind of not very much for one day. YouTube, again, is a problem. I watch YouTube mindlessly without thinking and often forget what I've watched. I would much rather watch like good films or documentaries, educational content that I'm going to be learning from, but a lot of the time when I have like a spare 10 minutes and I think, oh, let's catch up on some YouTube, I will click on short videos, completely forget about them, and literally not walk away with anything. So I want to be more mindful about that and make sure that when I am watching YouTube, I'm watching it intentionally and I'm taking something away from it. Most of my social media screen time is also done up in my room, so I tend to spend a lot of time in my bedroom by myself scrolling through social media. That's when I'm most likely to be on it. I don't really go on social media when I'm out with people or like downstairs with my family. And I've realised that that must be quite isolating, even if I don't realise that it is. Another thing, if I have a spare few minutes, I might check Instagram and I'll just scroll through Instagram, but I would much rather take those moments to be mindful, like to meditate, to like reply to a quick email I need to reply to, as opposed to just wasting those minutes, because they do add up as well. Despite spending a lot more time on social media, I also am really, really bad at replying to my friends when they message me. It's something I'm notoriously bad at, and if you ask any of my friends, they're going to say, and I hate that I'm like this, but I am really, really bad at replying to people. And so if I am going to be spending time on social media, I want to make sure that I'm actually replying to comments, replying to DMs, replying to messages from friends. And I want to try and come up with a way of doing that where it's intentional and where I kind of like put time aside to do it, because it means that I'll treat social media as more of a task and then hopefully approach it with a kind of like different mindset, where it's not just like, it stops being like a kind of wasteful thing and it starts being an intentional thing. I've also fallen into an awful habit of compulsively searching for YouTube when I go onto my laptop in a new tab and checking my subscription box or checking what's on the homepage, which I hate that I do. I know I'm not the only one, but I think it's an awful, awful habit. I used to do this, got out of the habit of doing it, like really forced myself not to do it, and now I've fallen back into it now that term's finished, and so I really want to stop doing that. Instagram and YouTube are also very busy places. I follow a lot of people on both platforms and constantly I'll be getting notifications, for example, from people like commenting. I love reading comments, but like it is a constant influx. And I want to curate a space on social media which is also less busy and where it doesn't necessarily feel quite so overwhelming. It means I can actually be more intentional with the content. I also post too often on stories and have started seeing pretty and aesthetic things as opportunities for content instead of just appreciating the moments themselves, which I hate that I started doing. This is only a recent thing, but I am attentive to the fact that it's happening and I don't want that to spiral. I don't want it to become a bigger problem than it already is, because it's not really a problem at the moment, but I think it could be if I don't check it now and like nip it in the bud. And then finally, I watch YouTube in the evenings. Okay, here we go. Things I want to change. And the next step then is making actionable goals of things I can actually tangibly do to make these changes. So let's do this. Okay, in line with my first goal of spending less time on my laptop, I'm going to take some of these note cards and write each of my main goals on one side, and then on the other side I can write down the solution. So I'm going to put you on a quick time lapse whilst I do that. Okay, these are all of my goals, and then on the other side I'm going to write up actionable things that I can do to solve these problems. Problem: I keep on going to social media apps by default on my phone. Solution: I can log out of Instagram, and then I can just log back in whenever I want to. I've also made Instagram only available on this page, so you can't access it easily on this page, which hopefully will stop me going into Instagram as often. One thing I'm actually going to try doing right now is, so Apple has a few features on just like the screen time settings, and I am going to try some of these out this week and see how I like them. So in particular, I'm first of all going to try the app limit, which is where you can put a time limit on how long you spend on particular apps. So if I go on social, Instagram, and I'm going to set an hour maximum time limit. Also downtime, I like the idea of trying this. So during downtime, your phone will restrict particular apps from you so that you can't look at them, which I really, really like. As I said, one of my goals is to stop using social media in the morning before 10 a.m. So I'm going to set a timer, I'm going to say 10 until 10, so that's 12 hours, which is quite good. Oh, that's so cool. You can like restrict particular people. I might not do that right now. I think that's quite mean. Okay, that's all done. I've tried out the features that are available distinctly on Apple. Problem, my social media pages are very busy places and that can be overwhelming. Solution number 1, unfollow some accounts. Solution number 2, which is one that I have used long term, like for the last year, I have 2 YouTube accounts and 2 Instagram accounts, and on these second social media accounts I don't follow that many people, and that means I can check social media but without being bombarded with lots and lots of content. I am only following 17 people on Instagram and I'm subscribed to around 40 people on YouTube. I know that's still quite a lot, but it's a lot less than on this YouTube page. I could keep my phone outside of my bedroom or just keep it on the opposite side of my room where it's not close to my bed when I wake up. To combat my problem of not replying to messages, I want to set a set time every day, like just 15-20 minutes where I will sit down and respond to messages. To stop myself from searching for YouTube on autopilot, I am logging out of YouTube on Chrome and only making it accessible on Safari. And since I use Chrome as my default browser, I should quickly realise that there is nothing to do on YouTube when I search for it on default, and so hopefully I will actually stop searching for it. There are also Chrome extensions you can download where you can block distracting websites. I'm not going to be using this though because the only website that I find distracting on my laptop is YouTube, and I think I have a good solution for that. I'm also deleting YouTube on my phone to stop myself going to it on default. Problem, when I use social media, I tend to do so in my bedroom. I'm going to try spending more of my social media time outside of my bedroom, so like watching YouTube downstairs, for example. My mum spends a lot of her downtime on this sofa. Like, if she's watching something in the evening, she'll watch it here. And so I want to try spending more time downstairs with my mum, and even if we're both doing our own thing, going on social media at the same time, if that makes sense. Again, I think it just makes it a more social and less isolating thing. I also do not want to watch YouTube in my bed. If I'm going to watch YouTube in my room, I've resolved that it has to be lying on the floor. Which is actually quite comfortable because my rug is very comfortable. I want to remove any association of my bed with watching YouTube. Being more mindful of the YouTube content I watch is really, really important to me. So I am going to track what I watch and also what I gained from every YouTube video I watched. So I just made this very simple tracker on Notion. In the first column, I put the video title, then tagged it with why I watched it, and then there's a space for reflecting on what I gained from watching that content, prompt for something I want to do, something I found interesting, just encouraging myself to reflect on how I benefited from spending my time watching that video. Set personal restrictions on what I watch. So for example, watching a haul video, there are occasions where I watch haul videos, which I don't find very interesting, if I'm honest. Like, I don't really enjoy watching them, but I watch them because it's very easy watching. Make a note of the content that you want to watch ahead of time, and then make sure that any YouTube videos you watch fit into this. My friend Molly does a weekend switch off from social media, which I love. An alternative is just taking an afternoon off, or a morning off, or a day off from social media, but setting time aside where you tell yourself you're not going to go on and giving yourself the space to recharge, and I am going to try doing that. For these times when I wouldn't be on social media, I just made a note of mindful and enjoyable things I could do in that switch off time, just to make sure that I am making the most of that time. I'm also making sure that I don't go back to screens by default. Okay, there we go. I have written out all of these goals, and the next thing, of course, is to put them into practice, and I will update you over the course of the next week as I actually try doing these things, and at the end give like tangible, actionable things that you can do if you want to become more mindful with social media, things that worked for me. Okay, it's day one. I've got my hot water bottle. It's a really nice, cozy, rainy morning, and I went on my laptop this morning and I thought it was only my phone that I'd restricted apps on. But all of these apps have been restricted as well until 10 AM. Chrome is the most problematic one, but it's going to prevent me from spending too much time on it. So I can imagine I'm gonna have to turn off the time limit for Chrome because I do pretty much everything on Notion, but let's see how long I end up spending on it. And so the week began. I tried to do all of these strategies and I must say that a lot of them did work very, very well. I'm currently on my morning walk. I haven't been on my phone at all today apart from to record this for you now. And I know that if I hadn't had the restrictions on, I would have been on my phone. Again, it's 9:30 and I have not gone on my phone yet today or like looked at social media at all because everything is time limited until 12. I found myself being much more mindful, spending genuinely less time on social media, and over the course of the week, the compulsion to check social media definitely lessened. But you will hear all of my reflections in just a second. Okay, it's been a week since I implemented these strategies and I just wanted to come on here and reflect. After a week of trying these different things, tell you what actually worked for me and give some tangible, actual advice which I would encourage you to carry forward with you. Yeah, okay, so let's sit down and have a chat. I would say I'm gonna get myself some tea, but it's actually really cold, so maybe I'll go make myself some iced tea. Let's go down. Okay, I have got my... Okay, that is amazing. What? That's incredible. This might be my new favourite summer drink. Okay, so it's been a week and I have genuinely noticed a difference in my social media screen time. Let's have a look at my screen time and see. Okay, so... daily average is 5 hours 37. Serial activity, that confuses me because I'm so sure I haven't spent as much time on social media this week. Okay, most used Spotify. I spent 24 hours on. I didn't have an issue with using Spotify because I put it on in the background. So we're to take away that. Let's look at just specific apps. Okay, so Instagram. My daily average is 47 minutes and last week my daily average was 1 hour 27 minutes. It is actually a significant decrease in how much time I'm spending on Instagram, and I honestly have noticed a difference in how much time I've been spending. Turning the limit on, so my screen limit for Instagram is 1 hour, but I can't go on Instagram until 12, like midday. Until midday I can't go on Instagram. It comes up with a little reminder saying, oh, it's past 12 so I can't show you, but it comes up with a little reminder saying you don't have access to this, like restricted access, and then you can choose to go on it for 1 minute, go on it for 15 minutes, or cancel that limit for the day. And I have gone on Instagram in that time, but because of the 15 limit, like then it logs me out and it doesn't let me go on it. The 1 minute thing is really good because it means that I can rush through to check something on Instagram if like I've got a message I need to respond to, but I'm not going to end up spending loads of time on it. It just holds me more accountable when I'm using it. So I would hugely recommend you setting that up. What else? Okay, so should I just get up my goals? Funnily enough, in setting these limitations and in forcing myself to be more intentional with my social media use, I have noticed myself spending more time on other things and like having other things which I go to automatically when I have a free moment. So in particular, I've been doing a lot of journaling this week. I've been keeping a journal since I was 15 and kind of fell out the habit. This last week, I've written like 50 pages in my journal and I just keep on picking it up haphazardly for like 2 minutes and I'll just write that much and then I'll come back to it a little bit later in the day. And I love that I'm doing that. I've actually found myself getting more into writing again. Writing is one of my favourite things to do, but I do feel some kind of resistance to it sometimes. I think with so many things, like even things that we really genuinely enjoy, we put up a barrier between us and it, and we convince ourselves that it's going to be hard work, and so we don't get started on it. So like we basically procrastinate the things that we enjoy because we're like, oh no, it's going to be too hard. I really don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense. But I had found myself doing that with writing, and through doing all this extra journaling, I don't have that same resistance to writing, and so I've ended up writing a lot more too. It's genuinely changed my mindset so much, and I'm really happy with how I'm spending my time now. I've also been reading more this week, which I'm really happy about. The other thing which I've actually noticed, I just feel more creative. And I do think that this is because of comparative social media. Like, I was spending too much time scrolling through Instagram, and I was spending too much time in that state of comparison, like that echo chamber of just like seeing so many highlights. Yes, that can be inspiring and it can spark creativity, and it definitely does spark creativity for me, but when I was doing it mindlessly, I wasn't doing it with the intention of inspiring myself or like bettering myself. It was just because I could. I definitely felt myself slipping into that really negative comparative mindset that we all can get from using social media, but through limiting my screen time and being more intentional when I go on Instagram, I tend to only really check up on the accounts that do really make me feel good and do inspire me. And actually it does make a difference too that I unfollowed people, and that's something I would really recommend you doing as well. Just like go through and unfollow people that aren't helping you at this particular point. If that includes my channel, like unsubscribe to me. I just think it's really important that we're looking after ourselves and like the content that we're following. Okay, what else? I said I was going to try logging out of Instagram and then logging back in every time I wanted to use it. I didn't end up doing that because the limit worked really well, so I don't think you need to do that. Be more mindful of the YouTube content I watch. So this is that YouTube tracker that I was telling you about, and I've been using this and it's had two very tangibly useful effects. The first really good thing I've noticed from it is I tend to be watching more valuable, meaningful content because I know that if I watch it, I've got to track it, and so I don't find myself clicking onto things which I'd be watching aimlessly and mindlessly, like just putting on in the background. I'm only watching content which I genuinely want to watch. Also, I am more attentive to the content I'm watching because I know that I'm going to write things down and like key notations. So I'm paying attention to how the content can help me and how it can provide some kind of value for my life. That doesn't mean it's going to be like tip based. It might be that it comforts me or like it makes me feel happy. Having said that though, there were videos that I watched and then didn't track and then had to go back and track because I kind of forgot, especially earlier in the week, but I did habitually get into it. Okay, so this is the YouTube video tracker. I tracked every video that I watched, and I feel like I must have watched less YouTube last week than I do usually, because I'm sure that I usually watch more videos than that. That's not actually that many videos. This is actually including some videos from before I started this channel too. Like, I guess I thought that I watched more YouTube than I do. So that's 18 YouTube videos I watched this week, and I didn't actually finish all of them. A lot of them I would only watch half of, but I feel like through doing this I have reduced how much YouTube I'm watching. And if I am going to watch something, I've found myself going more to longer form content, which is what I really wanted to do. I have found myself watching, like dipping into more documentaries and feature-length films. Very happy with this and would highly recommend. As you can see, it's just got the like video type, what I gained, why I watched it. I've got a lot of like, I don't really know why I watched it. At one point, as you can see, I watched like 3 of Zoella's old Vlogmas videos, which was not very intentional, I'm not gonna lie. I had it on in the background whilst I was doing something else, and it was just very comforting, very nostalgic of that era where everyone was watching them. Funny as well, because I didn't actually watch them at the time, but... And also having a list of YouTube videos, aside from the watch later, which I'm going to watch, I found very good this week. These are the videos I was thinking of watching today, and I might not even end up watching them. That's the great bit. Lots of the videos that I end up writing down on this list, I don't even watch. I watch less than what is on the list. Genuinely, this has been such a game changer for reducing my YouTube watch time. I also really like changing up my spaces downstairs. I'd really recommend you trying that. Instead of spending all of your time in your room, like in the same position, try and move around. I haven't really been sitting with Mum while she's been watching TV, though, I've got to say. I said to keep it outside of my room. I didn't actually really notice that much of a difference keeping it outside of my room, but I kept my phone on the other side of the room, and because I had that limit on, saying I couldn't really go on many apps until 12, I tended to just not go on it in the morning. I've also been reading really good books, and so as soon as I wake up, I've just been reaching for the book and reading the book instead. It stops me from going on my phone, of course. But yeah, so then pretty things do not equal content opportunities. This is something I've really been working on. I posted more bunches of stories together at once as opposed to like doing them throughout the day, which worked so much better for me. More than anything though, it wasn't so much a tactic that I can recommend to you, it was just telling myself again and again, this isn't a content opportunity. It was like a thought that I was telling myself, and it was a reminder I was giving myself consistently. And as a result of that, just after a few days, I naturally stopped taking out my phone to take photos of things. And I can't tell you how annoyed at myself I am that I'd fallen into that habit at all, like seeing beautiful things as opportunities for beautiful photographs and content. I mean, yes, you can take beautiful photos of these things, but the most important thing is experiencing them and holding that experience. I feel more attached to the things I'm seeing now that I've started to break that habit. Obviously it's not gone, and I do still reach for my phone sometimes. I do still see things as like photo opportunities, but I am starting to come out of that, and I'm very, very glad. Molly's weekend switch off idea. Love it. Oh my goodness. I haven't quite committed to it, but I did it this morning and didn't go on my phone or social media for until 2 p.m, which I'm really happy about, and I feel so good after that. I genuinely feel so refreshed and rejuvenated, even though it was only a morning, and so I'm definitely going to be doing that more in the future and trying to take off at least one morning a week where I don't go on my phone or technology at all. I did try deleting the YouTube app on my phone. In the end though, I re-downloaded it because I was out in London and I needed the YouTube app to sort out something related to a video, and so actually for convenience's sake I am going to keep the YouTube app on my phone, but having it just deleted for a few days has stopped me from going onto the app and clicking onto the app so much. So I think sometimes just deleting an app for a little while, breaking the habit of automatically clicking into that app, can be really helpful. And then the final thing which did work for me and that I will recommend is a set time where you can respond to messages and catch up on that kind of thing. Like I've just been setting a timer of like 20 minutes, and I'll sit down and I'll respond to Instagram messages and YouTube comments. You could substitute this for responding to emails, but doing it all within a contained space just makes it seem not formal, but just kind of, you're more intentional with it and you're focused on it, as opposed to just doing it because you're procrastinating on something else, treating it as something important in itself. I've never really struggled with like checking my phone compulsively for messages, but I think if you struggled with that, this would be very helpful in particular. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was very chatty, very like reflective, quite different to the usual format of my videos, but I hope it was helpful. I definitely think I benefited from this, and I am going to continue taking steps to try and become more intentional with social media use. I think it's an ongoing thing. We're, as a society, very much consumed by social media culture, and it's important that we do take a step back every now and then and make sure that we are using it in a way which is helping us. I also am hoping at some point this summer to take just a week off from social media. I did it last year and I felt so rejuvenated afterwards. I think I'm going to try and find a week where I can do that this year, and if I do, maybe I'll share my reflections on that too, if that's something you want to see. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope that you have a productive week. Also, this is your call to switch off from YouTube and go and do something else right now, because there's a reason you probably clicked on this video, and maybe you realise that you do need to change the way you're using social media, just like I knew that I had to. Yeah, so this is your call. Please turn off your phone, turn off your laptop now and go and do something else. Yeah, anyway, hope you have a lovely day. Bye.